Welcome everybody to a funny thing called business. This is where 4 business owners with over 30 years collective experience under our belts share the capers and triumphs of running a small business and how we now avoid perilous customer chaos and pitfalls. So today we have with you Clare Whalley,
Darren Langley,
Kate Curry,
and Pete Morgan.
also known as the Dream Team. Okay, guys. No pressure with that title that I've just bestowed upon you. So today we are talking very importantly about taking time off in your business as we're just heading into the festive season and having a very busy year behind us. We all felt collectively it was really important to share how important it is to take time off. So let's start in a really positive way, guys. The first question I wanted to ask you was, what is the time in your business that you can look back on where you have really been able to totally switch off? So like your favorite part where you can shut your office door. I can already see Pete's face going, uh-oh, don't ever do that.
No, I don't think I've ever done that in 4 years. I don't think I've ever, if I've been away, if over Christmas, I will always, even if it's just once a day, we'll check the emails. If we go away somewhere, I'll generally take my laptop with me.
Pete, my question to you is then, would you like to switch off?
Of course, but I think the fear of letting clients down is the thing that, that kind of, because there's no panic worse than coming to your emails. And I think Darren may have been kind of experienced something like that, and potentially Kate as well, of reading an email and going, right, okay, if I'd have seen this email sooner, Armageddon could have been nicely averted. but I've been away from my emails. So I think that's my thing of not letting clients down. Hopefully in time, I'm going to get a bit better at it. I'm a bit more, when I spoke to my clients this year, I was very clear on this day, I'm stopping, and I'm stopping until that. But I always put the caveat in as I'm always around for emergencies.
Yeah.
I don't know what
emergencies.
I was going to say. I don't know what constitutes a podcast emergency.
Answers on a postcard, please.
Quick! I need to publish. I need some stats.
Oh God. Well, let me share with you my favorite time of when I've really been able to switch off, and hope that this inspires you and gives you a way of being able to switch off. So I went to India last year for 3 weeks. I think it might have been more than 3 weeks. And I totally switched off. My phone was left in my office drawer, as it always is. I didn't touch a phone once the entire time. And actually, when I got back, I'd had my best month in business that I've ever had.
Wow.
And later on, I'll share with you something that I've just read that will help you understand why that is. But the way I did it was, I emailed out to all my clients well in advance. I'm going to be completely unavailable between these times. Any work that needs doing, share it with me, send it me. And I just went really ninja through a to-do list to get everything done before I left. And most things immediate when I got back. So I was already kind of 3 days ahead of myself when I got back. But it worked.
Yeah, that's the solution though, isn't it? I mean, I think it is the ever constant dilemma of, what if a client needs me, and then, what will happen? Will they abandon me and find someone else to work with? But the antidote to that is basically manage expectations, because if you've set that groundwork, you've let them know, you've got your out of office, maybe you've even got a contingency plan. Because I mean, for me, when I go away, if a website goes down or something horrific happens or it gets hacked or something like that,
Yeah.
then, you know, the clients' businesses are, you know, going to be affected by me being away for a couple of weeks and not being able to help them. But, you know, maybe having a contingency for that where there's perhaps someone else you can have on hand.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think the manage expectations bit is the thing. It's always comes down to that at the end of the day.
Yeah. And do we want really fickle clients, people that if, you know, they don't want you to go on holiday, they don't want you to have a rest. That's what they're telling you if they leave you, if you're away for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. But also it's more trouble in a lot of scenarios. Maybe this isn't always true, but that fear of if I let someone down, they'll find someone else. Well, you know, that's actually quite a lot of effort on their part. Maybe they'll just forgive you because it's a bit easier to forgive you than it is to find someone else to work with.
You're taking a holiday. Thanks. Kate, what about you? Have you been able to go away and switch off?
Well, I suppose my to begin with, when the first couple of years of business, absolutely not. No, I felt like I had to be like on call the whole time. Otherwise, what would people think? You know, oh, she didn't reply within 10 minutes. What sloppy service. But I've come to realise that people know that we're all human beings. We all know that we need time off. But I think the first proper experience for me was when we went to my mother-in-law's caravan in the Cotswolds. And there was no 4G, and it was enforced on me. So I had my phone, I had my laptop. I was like, yeah, you know, I can do a bit. It's fine. But I couldn't do anything. And in the end, I was like, well, I'll just shut it all down and stick it in the cupboard because it's useless. And it was liberating. It was amazing. Yeah. But for me, my favourite time off stories are listening to yours, Claire. Like the way you can put a phone in a drawer for 3 weeks. It sends tingles down my spine. I'm like, oh, how can you do that? That's absolutely amazing. But it's so achievable. You just have to put everything in place to manage things while you're away, and the world doesn't end. As long as you've got somebody there to, you know, perhaps have your back while you're having some time off so you can properly relax, then, you know, it's totally achievable.
How are you going to play Candy Crush if the phone's in the drawer?
Genuinely, that was like one of my first thoughts was, wait a minute, how do you play your mobile games? How'd you do that then?
No mobile games. I thought any kids did.
I'm really good at Candy Crush.
Oh, guys!
Telling you.
So, I mean, you know, this leads us into the next question about what do you wish you'd known about it when you started out? And for me, you know, 13 years into a business, the first 5 years, probably more than that, if I wasn't working, I was spending all my time thinking about work, thinking what I could be doing, you know, to get more clients or, you know, do better marketing. I was always thinking about it. And I think it took a long time for me to get a wake-up call to be like, you know, I didn't leave corporate to just be getting into the same ugly pattern of, you know, working in inverted commas, you know, around the clock. So for me, you know, I wish I'd have kind of just put all this planning and contingency place in sooner because, you know,
But do you not think you needed the experience of those early years to realise that you can? Because I genuinely, I wouldn't feel, you know, I'm working up until, or what I've said to my clients is 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve is when I'm finishing. Now, in reality, I don't think I'm going to be working until then. You know, I think most things will be clear and most of my clients are taking Christmas off. But I couldn't it does make me feel very anxious to go, right, I'm going to finish on the 18th and then there you go, you know, crack on with yourself. No, I can't. Well, and part of this is the reverse. So before I did this, 30 years, I was a radio presenter. I worked every Christmas because I generally worked at radio stations. My wife and I don't have any children. We opted for dogs because, you know, you don't get as attached. And but all the presenters I worked with, they all had kids. So I always thought, well, it just seems cruel to ask them to give up their Christmas morning. So I'll do the breakfast show on a Christmas day.
too good. You're covered in chocolate and gold.
But to be fair, it's one of the greatest radio shows you'll ever do. Is Christmas morning, because for so many people, you're the only voice they're going to hear that day. You're the only contact they're going to have. So I would love that. So that was the biggest change for me, was to not physically have to go anywhere or do anything over the Christmas period, because I'd spent genuinely 30 years working on Christmas Day and Boxing Day.
Yeah.
So to have them off now, so all I've done is just kind of shifted it back, about 12 hours, and gone, 5 p.m. Christmas Eve, right, there's my cut-off point.
And will you completely switch off, Pete, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day? No checking your emails?
I think what I'll do, because my phone it's not a business phone, it's my personal phone. So I think what I'll do is I will turn off all notifications for things like LinkedIn, my emails, and the business Twitter accounts, and I will do the best that I can to just keep right away from them. But there's still going to be friends messaging, and that's fine. But the business side, certainly up until the 27th, I think. And then when it's just me and my wife left in the house, or we've stood in the gardens of whichever families we're allowed to stand in the gardens of, and it's just back to Joe and myself, it will be like, okay, we've had as much conversation as we can stand now.
Let's I'm
get back on the phone.
Brilliant. So, Kate, what do you wish you'd have known when you started out with regards to, how much better it would be for you and your business to take time off?
Yeah, I think just learning that time off is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, and it makes you better at what you do to have time for yourself. And that applies not just to business, but for everything. I've got children as well, and I need time off from them too. And it makes me a better mum to go and do things for myself and then come back to my family. It's just everything in balance, isn't it, in life? I wish I'd had a bit of a better strategy for separating work, because like Pete, my phone, I use it for everything. I use it for keeping in touch with friends, family, putting pictures of my roast dinner on Facebook and things like that, really important stuff. But occasionally work stuff can slip through the net when I'm trying to have downtime. So I do, even now, I probably still do need to have a better strategy for that. But one example of this going wrong was last October, we had a family trip to Iceland, and we hired a camper van, and we drove around Iceland in this real stripped out transit van, and it was just amazing. But I told all my clients I'm not going to be around this week. There was an out of office, so any new inquiries, they would know. I'd get back to them the following week. So it was all fine, all nice and relaxed. And then we were driving along in the middle of nowhere, and my mobile rings, and it was the office phone diverting to my mobile, and I answered it without thinking, and I just happened to see at the last possible second, it's a works call, and I just go, "Hello, Curry Design Studio." I couldn't have been in a more random part of the world at the time, and I suddenly had to just out of nowhere put my real professional voice on,
switch back into work mode.
So it's it's trying to try and close all those holes where it can still leak through, and then you really know you can switch off.
So was it $1 million deal that you closed?
No, I was trying to think who it was now, and I can't remember. It wasn't even that important. I was just like, I'll ring you back next week. To be honest, I'm about to walk up a glacier, so I've got a bit of life to live first. I'll come back to work later. There's more to life than just working all the time, and
absolutely,
when you've got a bit of entrepreneurial spirit, it's very difficult to put it down and leave it alone. You can't, it's hard to do that, but it makes you a better person when you learn to be able to.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've spoken before, haven't we, about, when you switch off, or when you stop holding so tight on all the things in business, then, that's when you relax, the good things happen. I just read before the call that Cheetahs when they're not in hunting mode, they try to expend as least amount of energy as possible to save it up for, the hunts. And it said, we can learn a lot from cheaters in business. So Darren, how do you channel your inner cheater in business?
Do you go lie on a branch on your lunch break?
You'll often find me
Your
pacing around the jungle. Yeah. I mean, in terms of taking time off, I've been guilty of kind of feeling guilty about, not being on all the time. But in recent years, I've kind of taken a view that, office work should happen during office hours, and kind of just sticking with that as a plan. And what Pete said about turning off notifications over Christmas, I mean, that for me is, turning off notifications isn't just for Christmas, it's for the whole year in my book.
Yes. Yes, good
WhatsApp
point.
and Facebook Messenger and all that, just no. I'll check them when I check them, because otherwise we are in an age where you can get bombarded by technology in so many different ways, and in lots of different avenues because of all the different services that are out there, that you've got to kind of allow it to be on your terms, which is why the one thing I probably hate most in terms of communication tools is actually the phone, because when the phone rings, it's like shouting out and saying, answer me now.
Yeah.
That's like a notification,
Yeah, well, and an email, isn't it? It's every direct.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have notifications for emails. I would usually sit and check them. When I'm at work, I'm checking them all the time kind of thing. They're open on a screen. But when I'm not at work, I don't look at them if I'm driving or whatever. But,
And you're not driving.
No, I don't check my emails when I'm driving. No.
Well done.
Just text messages. No.
So I'm guessing as well that the three of you are very good at kind of going, right, okay, it's 5:30 or 6 o'clock or whatever. That is it. And work is okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a choice really. I think when you have kids, it's kind of like,
yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
The dogs probably did the same though. I mean, our dog's a bit like that.
Yeah. Once they've been fed, they don't care. I can do whatever I can do a work call whilst I'm feeding them, as long as they're getting food.
Yeah.
Then they're all right. They're okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'd love to hear some feedback as to what strategies people use when they haven't got children, because you haven't got that, distraction where you need to feed or you need to spend time or they need to go out, and how you get around it, because otherwise I could imagine that I could get sucked back into my business all the time.
The way my wife does it is, it's just as soon as she walks through the front door. I mean, working from home is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But when she goes to the office, when she walks through the front door, that is it. The day's done. Work phone doesn't come out. But she doesn't work for herself. She works for a big company. So.
But we should always take that attitude, though. I think.
Well,
everyone, if we're all in it together and kind of just agree that let's go back to it being, office hours being a thing, rather than because we can answer our phones or check our messages at 10 o'clock at night that we should. I don't think we should.
But as business owners, Darren, we're here to educate our clients how we work, and if we answer emails at 11 o'clock at night, answer calls, well, then they'll phone us and email us at 11 o'clock at night.
All right. So replying to an email at 3 o'clock yesterday morning, not the most ideal.
That's absolutely fine. You can do this, and I'm here for you morning, noon, and night. I could really get on my soapbox about this, guys. So let's move on to Kate's already shared with us what she's failed at, but I'm not switching on her answering machine properly when she goes to holidays in Iceland. But what's something that you failed at around taking your time off that you need? Darren, I'm going to start with you.
Well, for me, I mean, we've kind of covered a bit in terms of answering calls and things when you shouldn't, but I do actually recall that while my wife was in labour with our first child, I was on the phone trying to solve some problems for a client. So, that's probably, looking back, it's something that sticks in your mind. You know what I mean? It's like, perhaps that's not the bit that should be the,
But Darren, that's just brought a horrifying memory back to me, because I can do worse than that. While I was giving birth, I've answered an email. I was in hospital, my waters had broken, and an inquiry came through, and I was like, I'll just answer this before I come through to surgery for my C-section. And God, that's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that now, but 10 years ago, kind of fresh into my business, 3 years in, well, yeah, I was going to answer an inquiry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's enthusiasm you have for your business. I mean, we all
Yeah.
still have enthusiasm, but it's over enthusiasm when you first start out. And I think also we all have misconceptions about what people think of us, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, well, if I don't answer straight away, what will they think? And you start to, develop this idea in your head. But for example, I know that, the hours that Claire works, I don't even bother to email or text or anything outside of those work hours because she's not going to answer it. And I accept that, and it's just it's the way it is, and everyone should be like that, really. I think we all need to sort of respect that everyone has a life, and maybe we should all do like a pact, right? With no more emails after 5:30.
Yes,
and we'll try and sort of spread the word across the country. No more emailing after 5:30. It's a new thing, a new government initiative. Let's do it.
Because I think it reminds me of there was a big client that I'd done a job for, and they sent an email on Boxing Day to ask for an update on the statistics, on the download numbers for this thing, and I'd just happened to see the email on my phone, and that meant I had to kind of go to the family and say, I'm awfully sorry, could you just excuse me for just 10 minutes? Instead of emailing back and going, right, it's Boxing Day, I'll get to this in a couple of weeks. Nothing's going to change.
No.
I came into the office, this office bit onto my desk, came in and logged on, got the thing and replied. But again, like Kate says, there's that perception thing, because her reply was, oh, I didn't expect you to reply.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, but it is that thing of... So
in your head, that was podcast emergency.
Yeah, that was...
Totally
podcast emergency is basically a client getting in touch. Podcast emergency is, here's an email. So, and I think that's why I really am going to try this year to just not... because the phone for me for a long time has been such a big attachment to me. If I leave the house without it, I start to get chills. But it's kind of working at just breaking away from it for those 4 days.
Yeah, small steps. So what should I have asked you today about, guys, that I haven't, with regards to taking time off?
This is always the hardest question, isn't it?
This is a bit where we all buffer, I think.
How much do we need? How much should we have? What is sensible?
And a plan B. I was interested in what Darren was saying of having a backup. So if something does go south while you're not there, do you have some kind of contingency? So if it was a website, and I don't know, Darren. Is there someone that can do what you do while you're not there, or do you have to kind of get in touch with maybe not a competitor, but someone who works in the same industry and go, listen, can you just cover this while I'm away for 2 weeks?
Yeah. Well, for me, a lot of the scenarios, if they're going to happen as a kind of an emergency situation, it's usually relating to, the hosting of the website, and that can often, I get support from the companies that I use for hosting. So they're usually my go-to. If a website suddenly isn't working or something, there's usually a reason, and they're probably already on it. So quite often it can self-write itself,
Yeah.
But yeah, there are other people that I work with, and having also at various stages had people working for me that can pick up the slack. I remember one time going on holiday, just about to go on holiday to Tenerife, I think it was, and a client had a project, and they really needed it turning around quickly, and I could have said no, we can't do it because I'm going away, which I would have done under normal circumstances, but I happened to have a little helper working for me at the time, and he was able to to do it. So he was working on it while I was sitting by the pool, and it's actually a really nice project. It's nice and simple. Turned it around perfectly. I made a nice little bit of a markup on it, and sitting by the pool, it's kind of like, oh, this is the way life should be.
Nice. But I think this is where our egos get involved in it all, guys, when we kind of go, oh, but it can't happen without me being involved. Or, the client's not going to get what they would get if it was me. And really, if you put in the right contingencies in place, like Darren said, and someone is following your process of this is how I do answer this, well, then it can be done in the same way. Or, at least 95%.
Yeah. I do think I need to look at my processes clearly. And this is where it becomes glaringly obvious I'm the baby business of the
noob.
Bunch. I am an absolute noob when it comes to all of this, because
Hey, you said to me earlier, do you think you kind of have to go through a rite of passage in your first 4 or 5 years? It's such a steep learning curve, and I think as humans we have to learn lessons the hard way in order to write it. I really believe in that. People kind of have to get to, oh, this is really bad, before they fix it. So it's clearly not bad for you at the moment. You would just like it to be easier, and it's just a few boundaries here and there.
It might be as simple as having a VA or something, and as Claire will say, having them kind of briefed on your process. Something that you can turn to when you're not around, or when you want a day off.
Because I took a day off at the beginning of this week, and I still did some work first thing in the morning, and then for the rest of the day, it was just in the back of my mind of, I'm not doing that. That's not getting done.
Day off.
So it wasn't really a day off, because I was just still, my mind was still kind of ticking over with the business and what needed to be done. So I think I need to get better at that.
That's why sometimes you shouldn't look. It's kind of like my email inbox at a weekend is like Pandora. No, not Pandora's box. It's the one there.
What's it like, Darren?
The fella with the cat in his box. What's his name?
Oh, Schrodinger's box.
Ah, that's the fella. Yes.
Ah.
There are both emergency emails in there and not emergency emails in there at the same time. Episode at the weekend.
So what we're taking today away from the conversation, then let's make our pact of one thing that you would love to do in order for you to take time off better and be cheetah-like. Use your energy for the really important stuff. And I think, the important stuff is to have a proper rest as well after the year we've all had, and, get into a new year refreshed and raring to go again. So what's the one thing, Kate? What will you be doing differently to take time off?
Well, after a really brilliant goal-setting workshop that I recently attended, one of the things that really shone out for me is that I need better systems and processes in place. So Pete, it never ends. Your business changes, and you still need to keep revisiting it and tightening things up and changing things. So I really need to do that, and I think the knock-on effect of that will be efficiency. And I won't have to think things through quite so much every time there's an inquiry. It's just you just fall into this process, and that's bound to just make more time for me to take time out, so I can have a nice long doggy walk in the park for my lunch break, instead of just grabbing a 10-minute sandwich down in the kitchen, because I've given myself too many tasks to do. So just being more efficient. It's just it feels like quite a boring answer, really, but this is my goal for next year, is efficiency and strategy and systems and processes, and just try and be more really organised and a nice well-oiled machine. That's what I'd like to be next year, and I just think that everything else will fall into place from that. It's like saying to somebody recently, it's like eating your vegetables so you can enjoy your pudding.
Yes. Now you're talking a language we can understand.
Well That's cracking. I love
I'm
You
that.
don't have to eat
serious
scraps.
broccoli. Eat some kale smoothies. That's what I'm going to have.
That sounds good, Kate. So what about you, Darren? What will
Yeah.
you do differently to take time off?
Well, just to follow on from Kate's there, I think processes is a really good point. I mean, I've done a lot of business coaching this year, you know, and one of the things that's come from that is having processes. And, you know, even things like an initial inquiry and things like that, and how we handle that, there's a process for that now, which, to be honest, is a lot quicker process than it used to be. And I wouldn't feel quite as guilty doing that whilst I'm sitting on the beach or something like that. You know what I mean? Because I know I know how to handle it. I know what needs to be done, and you know, that really helps. But perhaps the takeaway for me is maybe when booking hotels, that kind of thing, perhaps having Wi-Fi in every room isn't going to be the highest priority.
No.
Maybe I'll leave my Candy Crush for a week and put my phone in the
Who's
room.
the Candy Crush?
I don't really play Candy Crush.
Oh, good. Because it's making me really judgy. I often see, like, you know, I'm like grown adults on flights playing those games on the phone. I'm like, surely there's better, more interesting things to do with your time than playing those games. But
I mean, I do like some of the games, but just not Candy Crush.
fair enough. Pete, what will you be doing to take time off?
Well, just so you don't judge me, I'm just going to delete some of my 114 games that I've got on my phone. I think I'm really going to try, and even though I've said 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve, obviously I'll still be around for that, but I'm really going to try and make sure that it's earlier than that, and that it is a proper break. You know, that I do kind of have that time to get frustrated by family rather than to get frustrated by work.
Will people still be getting frustrated by their family this year with not having spent much time? Well, extended family, I suppose.
I don't think so. Yeah, my only thing is it's going to be odd having people in the house. That's going to be the real odd thing of, wait a minute, whoa, we've not shared our space with anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, look, you know, I'm not perfect all the time when it comes to taking time off and switching off. You know, I don't work on Mondays. I work a 4-day week, but sometimes on a Monday, you know, I'll be checking my email. And if I did work, you know, if I did answer all the calls, I would do a full day's work. So I do have to be really disciplined to not listen to voicemails. But a lot of times I do answer my assistant on a Monday. But in the new year, here and now, I'm going to stop doing that. I used to put my out of office on. I'm putting that back on for a Monday so that I, you know, don't look at it and don't do anything, because it's so easy to just slip back into old habits. So yeah, that's what I'm making a pact to do. I expect you to hold me to it.
Yes. Nice.
Shall we test her on it? Shall we all send her an email on Monday?
Fucking emails.
Respond, they're on to me.
Subject: podcast emergency.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, thanks for participating today. Looking forward to not seeing you, not hearing from you over Christmas, and resuming back in 2021 when we're all refreshed. So for our lovely listeners, please share, subscribe and review so our fellow business owners can enjoy, be inspired, and always, like us, keep focused on the fun side of business too.